Alright, this is my Nissa of Shadowed Boughs commander list, so let's go over it. Landfall, she gets a loyalty counter when lands hit the battlefield. Her +1, she takes a land, turns it into a 3/3 menace with haste. It's still a land. And then her -5, she can reanimate a creature from your graveyard or your hand as long as you have enough lands to play the creature. Like if you have a 6-drop, you need 6 lands. Ashnod's Intervention gives 2/0, and when the creature is exiled or dies, it goes back into your hand. Eliminate, destroys creature or planeswalker with mana value 3 or less. Pilfer, Cherry Pick, discards. Arbor Scrap Gorger, he's a mana dweeb that when he taps, he exiles a card from the graveyard. Rogue Intervention. Permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Invasion of Ixalan, you play it, you can reveal card, or you look at the top 4 cards of your library, you grab a creature or a land, put it in your hand, and then when you win the battle, you get Belligerent Regisaur, which has trample and it gains indestructible if you play a creature. Call Harpooner has reach, and then when he enters a battlefield, he has an undergrowth ability where he gains attack for the amount of creatures in your graveyard, and then he fights a flyer. Tangled Florahedron is a green source that comes into play tapped, or it turns into a mana dweeb for 2 mana. It's a 1/1, taps for green. Terra Sunder is, it exiles a artifact or enchantment. If you kick it, you exile a non-land permanent instead. So it's 4 mana. Its kicker is 1 and 1 black. Excellent card. Assassin's Trophy destroys any sort of permanent, and then they grab a basic land from their list, put it into play untapped. Swarm Guildmage, he is just a 2/2. With his 5, he can tap and give all your creatures one attack and menace. And then for 2 and tapping, he can gain you 2 life. I kind of just felt like playing him. He's not super great, but he's not bad either. Arcane Signet makes mana. Pretty simple stuff. Murderous Rider, you've seen this before. Destroys target creature or planeswalker, you lose 2 life. Has lifelink, and then when he gets destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you return him to the bottom of your deck. Valaka's Predation is a cherry pick discard that can only discard cards with mana value 3 or higher, or it comes into play as a tapped black source. Phyrexian Arena, at the start of your upkeep, you draw an extra card, you lose 1 life. Balaga Recovery, returns target card from your graveyard to your hand, or it's a green source tapped. Cultivate, grabs 2 basic lands, you play one of them tapped, put the other in your hand, gets you to 5 mana. Kalini Ambush, target creature fights a creature you don't control, or it's a tapped green source. Pretty good removal. Serena of Death's Whisper, Bewitching Whisper, is when she comes into play, she has a lure effect that forces something to block. And then when something dies, like a creature dies, and then it gets sent to the graveyard, at the end of the turn you can pay 2 life, draw a card. Glissa Sunslayer, this card's nuts, has first strike, death touch, and then when she deals combat damage to a player, you choose 1, draw a card, lose 1 life, destroy target enchantment, or you remove 3 counters from a permanent. So she can be really good against planeswalkers. She can debuff like a 1/1 counters creatures, or outright like remove it because it ends up on being a 0/0, so it can't exist on the board. Journey to Eternity, you enchant a creature you control, and then if it dies, it comes back flipped as Zalto Cave of Eternity. You pay 5 and tap it, and then you return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield, and it also produces 1 mana, so it's 6 mana for its reanimate, because you gotta tap it itself, and it's 1 green and 1 black. Maelstrom Pulse, destroy target non-land permanent, and each non-land permanent with the exact same name as it. Bronze Walrus, he's a mana dweeb, but when he enters play, he scries 2. Burnished Heart, you sacrifice him, he cultivates for you for 3 mana, except he puts the 2 basic land cards into the battlefield tapped. So he gets you straight to 5 mana for 6 mana. Defiler Flesh is a 4-drop. He has Menace, and then he can Phyrexian mana, black sources, only 1 per cast. And whenever you play a black card, he can give a creature 1/1 and Menace, making it harder to block. Phyrexian mana is you can pay 2 life or pay the mana cost. Extinction event, you choose odd or even, exile each creature with that mana cost, so like 2, 4, 6, 8, etc. Gontilar Luxury has Death Touch. When he comes into play, you look at the top 4 cards of your opponent's library, you exile one of them, and you can cast it for its mana cost, whatever kind of colors, it doesn't matter. Hagura Mauling, you see this card before. Tap black source, destroys creature on the other side. Deluge of the Dead, -13, -13 a creature, makes 2 zombies when it flips, and it exiles cards from the graveyard. Phyrexian Obliterator, he has Trample. He's really hard to cast, but whenever he takes damage, the source's controller of that damage sacrifices that many permanents. So he's really good with fight effects. Ravenous Chupacabra, when he enters the battlefield, he destroys a creature. He's just a 2/2, but he costs 4. He's decent. He can kind of sometimes go 2 for 1, not really. Sheoldred of the Apocalypse, this card's awesome. She's a 4-drop, she's a 4/5 with Death Touch. Whenever you draw a card, you gain 2 life. Whenever your opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life. Doomscar Warrior, this guy's pretty cool. He's got backup. Trample, backup means he puts a 1/1 counter and then it copies his ability. His ability, when he deals combat damage to a player or a battle, you reveal up to that many cards from your library. You pick a creature or a land and put it in your hand. Put the rest of them back in the bottom. The Invasion of Zendikar, you play it, and you get 2 basic land cards and put them into your battlefield. Tap, then shuffle. Then when you win the battle, you get Awakened Skyclave. He has Vigilance and Haste. He's a 4/4. He's a land, and he taps for any 1 color. Seraph, the Viper's Fang. She gives other creatures, tapped creatures you control have Death Touch. Other untapped creatures have Hexproof, and she can untap a creature you control or tap an opponent's creature. Binding the Old Gods. This card, when it comes into play, it destroys a target non-land permanent. Then the second part, you search your library for a forest card, so as long as it has the super type forest, you can put it into play. Then the last part, it gives everybody Death Touch. Mortality Spear, destroys target non-land permanent. If you gain life that turn, it only costs 2 mana. Then we've all the Primeval Warden. He's got Reach, and then whenever a creature your opponent controls would die, you exile it instead. And when you do that, you make a 1/1, and you can sacrifice one of his 1/1s to give him 2/2 until end of turn, or sacrifice 2 of his 1/1s, because they have to be separate links, and then he can draw a card. Rise of the Witch King, this card's nuts. Each player sacrifices a permanent, sacrifices a creature. And if you sacrifice a creature this way, you return another target non-land permanent from your graveyard to the battlefield. So this card is absolutely nuts. It's from the Lord of the Rings set. It's an uncommon. If you play Golgari, you should probably play it. Vraska Golgari Queen, one of my favorite cards. You can sacrifice another permanent, and if you do, you draw a card and gain 1 life. And then her -3 destroys target non-land permanent with mana value 3 or less. And then her -9, it gives you an emblem whenever one of your creatures deals combat damage, it instantly kills the player. Sheoldred has Menace. When it comes down, she forces your opponent to sacrifice a non-token creature or planeswalker, and then you can flip her into the True Scriptures. They need 8 or more cards in the graveyard. First part of the True Scriptures is you destroy target creature or planeswalker each opponent controls. Then each opponent discards 3 cards and then mills 3 cards. And she reanimates both graveyards, or all graveyards, and then you flip her back into Sheoldred. Shikitherics, you've seen this before. He has Flying Infect. Infect means he deals damage in the form of poison counters. And then when he, you can give him Haste for 1 mana or give him Regeneration for 2 mana. Defiler of Vigor is just like the other Defiler. He can Phyrexianize green mana. He has Trample. Whenever you cast a green spell, he gives your entire team a 1/1 counter. Card's absolutely nuts. He's probably the strongest Defiler. Outside maybe the red one. Red one's pretty close to him too. Invasion of Chandelier, when you play it, you return 3 permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. And then when you flip it, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. Mind you, it's put, so it can't be countered. Deathwing Ritualist, this card's meh. You had X mana of any 1 color, where X is the number of creatures in your graveyard. Glissa, Herald of Perfection, she's pretty cool. When she enters or does combat, you choose 1. You can incubate 2 twice, so you make 2/2s artifacts that you gotta transform first for 2 mana. You transfer them all those tokens, or Phyrexians you control gain first strike and death touch until end of turn, making them pretty much impossible to block. Blood on the Snow destroys all creatures, destroys all planeswalkers. However much snow you put into it, you reanimate a creature or planeswalker with that much snow. Ever After lets you return 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Then they become zombies, and it shuffles itself back into the deck. Invasion Fiora, you've seen this before, destroys either all legendaries or all non-legendaries. You can do both. Then Marchesa gets Menace and Death Touch. When she swings, she can remove all the counters off of something, so usually sinks a planeswalker. And then if you didn't get attacked for that one turn, you draw a card and lose 1 life if you didn't get attacked the last turn. Liliana Dreadhorde General, she makes 2/2 black zombies. Each player sacrifices 2 creatures. Her ultimate, each opponent chooses a permanent type that they control and then sacrifices the rest. So like each one for like land, creature, etc. And whenever one of your creatures dies, you draw the card. Noxus Gearhulk has Menace. When he enters play, you may destroy another target creature. If you do, you gain life equal to its toughness. That card's called Soul Sever. It's a really old magic card. Vraska Betrayal String, she's alright. She's completed, so she can either cost 5 mana or 6 mana. If you play her for 5, she comes into play with only 4 loyalty counters, and when her 0 is draw a card and then lose 1 life, and then you proliferate, which means you put extra counters on things. Any kind of counter that they have, you can put an extra 1 on it. Her -2, it turns a creature into a treasure token, and the -9 is your opponents get 9 poison counters. Vorinclex Monstrous Raider, this card's nuts, has trample and haste, and then whenever you would put counters on things, you double them. If your opponent puts counters on things, they put half as much rounded down. Casualties of War, this card's a big like +5 on some occasions. Choose 1, you destroy target artifact, enchantment, creature, planeswalker, or land. Shalab, Child of Ungolent, she's a spider tribal payoff. She's at Death Touch Ward 2, and then other spiders you control also have Death Touch and Ward 2. And then whenever a creature is destroyed by a spider, you turn it into a food token, but it keeps its passive ability. So it's good against things like Blood Artist. If you bind up a Blood Artist, you have it as a food token, but it still has its passive abilities. That's where she shines. Other than that, she's just good because she's a 6 mana 8/8. That's huge. Vraska Relic Seeker, she's awesome. Her +2 is create a 2/2 black pirate creature token with Menace. Menace means they need to be blocked by at least 2 creatures. Her -3 is destroy target artifact, creature, or enchantment. You create a treasure token. Treasure token is just a 1-time mana rock. And then her ultimate just sets a player's life total to 1. Breach the Multiverse, you mill 10 cards from each library, and from each library you pick a creature or planeswalker, put it straight into the battlefield. Phyrexian Fleshgorger, he's got prototype, so he can either be a 3/3 with Menace and lifelink, and then his ward is equal to his power, or he's a 7/5 with Menace and lifelink. So his ward is quite strong. Ward means if he gets targeted, you pay life equal to his mana cost. This is the original Shieldred Whispering one. She has Swamp Block. It means if they have a swamp, she can't be blocked. And then at the beginning of their upkeep, they sacrifice a creature. At the beginning of your upkeep, you reanimate a creature. Means bring it back from the graveyard. Nissa Animated Animus, she has completed as well. So you can pay her for 5, 6, or 7 mana. Her +1 creates a Phyrexian Horror equal to her loyalty. Her -1 destroys target artifact or enchantment, and her ultimate is an overrun effect where you count the amount of force that you have. Each creature gains that much attack and toughness and gains trample. Titan of Industry has reach, trample. When you enter the battlefield, you choose 2, make a rhino, gain 5 life, destroy target artifact and enchantment, or put a shield counter on something. Tyrannus Rex is just a big dumb idiot, but he wins the game. He can't be countered, has trample, ward 4, haste, toxic 4. Toxic 4 means if he does damage, he puts 4 ward or poison counters on. And to go back to Titan of Industry, shield counter is just a 1-time protection from damage or destruction. Vorinclex Twisted Hunger, he's got trample. He's a 7/6. Whenever you tap lands for mana, you add 2. Whenever your opponents tap lands, they tap down for an additional turn. Portal of Irexia, when it comes into play, each opponent sacrifices 3 creatures. Then at the beginning of upkeep, you reanimate a creature. It becomes a Phyrexian in addition to everything else. Nylea's Intervention is is you search up to X lands, and that's any type of lands, so feel free to grab whatever you want. And then its secondary effect is Windstorms, which deals twice X damage to each creature with flying. And that's pretty much the list. Then we'll just, the only noteworthy land is Agadine's Awakening, the rest is just a mana base.
Alright, we go first in this one. This one's a boss. So, let's go into it. We play first, they go. Play, go by check land. Checks if we got a forest or a swamp, comes in play and tap. They play Ghost Spiral here. Draws them a card, and then they can plop a land down. So you go. We got Armor-Scrap Gorger. Armor-Scrap Gorger taps. We send away the Ghost Spiral. He gets an oil counter. When he gets 3 oil counters, he becomes a 3/3. You're gonna make the land for 3, send in that third direction, say go. Yeah, because they're in Modi sending our celebrating the bounties. Card has Cascade and gives all your 6 or higher drops Cascade, which they can cascade off of each other. You'll see that in this match, just like the potential of this card, because this card's absolutely cracked. Play Crawl Arpino here, and not much else to do. Limit the land. We swing. Send the land. Say go. Probably could have stab horse the Palladium mirror, but it doesn't really matter. They're thinking, play Kiora. He's back in there. Whenever you play a creature with power 4 or greater, she draws you a card, and then she can untap permanents with her -1, and she comes into play with 7 loyalty. Like, that card's an absolute unit. Honestly, she's really strong. And tap the Palladium mirror here, play a Modi. Start getting the ball rolling. Basically, against these big raid decks like this, you pretty much need, like, board wipes constantly. Then the turn ends and they say go. Playing that, or we draw Nadia's Intervention, which we stated that in deck tech. Either graves you lands or it's a Windstorm effect. We stab horse the Modi, because the graveyard comes back to the command zone, and with a land, make a 3/3 sure. Send both creatures at Kiora, attempting to send her to the graveyard. They block, lose one of their mana dweebs. So Leaf King Elemental, he's like, when you have so many lands, he taps for 2 mana. They're thinking here, thinking. They tap the Palladium meteor first. Because honestly, with this chick, that's all you have to do is basically just slam her a bunch of times, and if she sticks for like 1 turn, she basically wins the game if you get lucky on your hits. Kinda almost unfair. Draw a fight spell here. So, have to get rid of a Modi. Or call our Prima fights her. They both get sent to the graveyard. Goes to the graveyard, gets them back to the command zone. Plus Nissa again. Becomes a 3/3. Send it at Kiora. They don't bother block. Well, they can't block because it's got Menace. Menace needs to be blocked by at least 2 creatures. Sitting here thinking. Play a Modi again. I don't like certain commanders like her, because like all you do is just constantly play the commander. Leaf Crown Visionary, or Landowner Visionary, or whatever. He draws a card when he comes into play as a mana dweeb. He's a 2/2. Playing it in Elysium Curated. When you have a creature of power 4 or greater, she taps for 2 mana instead of just 1. we're falling pretty far behind on lands here. While we play this. Grab a few lands. Honestly, if we didn't get mana screwed constantly and could have played some of our bigger threats, we probably would have been in a good spot. We have to animate the land first. We don't send it their direction, we instead just want to draw a bunch of lands with a spell. Because we cherry pick them. Attach the squirt, the Overwhelmed Scrounger as well. We got like 3 lands here. Does this little effect. You want to grab Command Tower, Slow Land, Slow Golgari Land, Fast Golgari Land. That's their third turn. This is where pretty much like they win the game right here. Because they play a land. They play Old Gnawbones. He cascades. They cascade into it's like a 12-12. He's like a land with slumber counters, then when you remove him, he becomes a 12-12. He's pretty cool. Old Gnawbones. When they play the Hunger Dominus, he like doubles your creature's power and toughness every combat, and then he cascades again. So that's what I'm talking about with emoting, where like if you get the right hits with her, just like they just overrun you anyways. And after this I concede because I had to use the restroom anyways.
Alright, this next match is against Maru. It's a loss of a 3 win. It's Trellisar Moon Dancer. It's a late game list. We kind of fall behind right away. I think this match really just didn't end up with land mostly. Anyways, they play Trellisar. She's a 2-2, and then whenever you gain life, she gets a 1-1 counter, and then she scries. And she's legendary because she's from the D&D set, like Trellisar is their like apparently rare like race in the D&D universe. Play with Chaos Lunar with 2-1 counters. He's an X creature, and then you can tap him to remove a counter from him and give your entire team counters, or you can tap him and give him a counter. Like I guess our hand was a bit too slow for this, because they ended up popping off pretty early. Probably should maybe aggressively mulligan for like a board wipe or some early interaction. We may have been alright, but they go ahead and play Voice of the Blast, which is like the ultimate Johnny's Friday. Go ahead and tap down Chaos here, and then they have Wild Scourge. Whenever he sees a non-Hydra creature get a counter, he gets counters, as long as it's non-Hydras. We played Violet Flash here, but then it's like pretty much too late. Like, this match is only like 2 minutes long, so I just conceded at this point. Yeah, and then they got Johnny's Strength of Pride, which here they plus him. Gain life equal to the creatures that they have. Wild Scourge gets like Giggle. I think he's like a 6/6 now. They send him. We opt not to block. Take 6. And unfortunately, we didn't hit a land there. I think Glissa Herald of Perfection gives himself 1+1/1+ menace, which he already had menace, so it doesn't matter. Glissa here, we just go ahead and evade 2. This is the best thing that we can do. We could have given Dude their Death Touch and First Strike, because he's a Phyrexian. We attempt to send Johnny's Strength of the Pride to the graveyard. And let that happen. We just kind of concede there because we're so far out of position. And we just lose. Pretty quick loss.
Alright, here's our next match. Against 12 of our Dial Overload. We beat this one pretty quickly. We'll see why here in a
basically just a really solid card in general. Really, really solid. I think the werewolf deck's pretty sweet. They hit 3 mana. They play Town Tamer first, I think is the name of that card. Anyways, it's just like a 3/3. And I think it can give like stats to creatures. I'm not sure what it does. Kind of doesn't really matter. You'll see why we win here though. They sit there thinking, contemplating, plays 12 bar, plays a land, Lotus Field. You play it taps for 3 of 1 color, but you gotta sacrifice 2 lands to play it. So it kind of sets you behind. There's a lot of ways to break it in red, so you go ahead and play Binding Will Gods, sending 12 onto the graveyard. He gets bounced back to the command zone. You go ahead and swing in with Glissa, and at this point, this is why we win. With her ability, removing counters off of things, she can reset Binding Will Gods. Like those 2 cards are 2 peas in a pod. It's a wombo combo. You take off the war counters, it keeps resetting, so you get a free destruction per turn, as long as she keeps getting in for damage. They look at that, they're like, nah, and they just bug out. So, quick win.
Alright, this one's a loss as well. This is up against Kodama at the West Tree. Kodama, he grabs lands from your deck if you swing in and connect with modified creatures. Modified means they either have 1/1 counters on them, or they're equipped with artifacts. I think modified also counts as auras as well, too. Pretty sure it does. They play, that's Hardened Scales. Hardened Scales doubles the amount of 1/1 counters you put on stuff. Like if you were to put one plus counters on something, you put an extra 1 on it, but it doesn't double it. It practically does, but it doesn't actually. Again, we have kind of a slow start here. We keep drawing our top end. If we would have drawn maybe our low end, we probably would have had a better shot just to kind of keep up pace with them. They play Quirion Beastcaller. Quirion Beastcaller is nuts. It's one of the best 1/1 counters paid off. Whenever you play creatures, she gets a 1/1 counter, and then when she leaves the battlefield via going to the graveyard, not into exile, she puts 1/1 counters. Like whatever counter she has, she gifts them to something, another creature that you have. They cultivate here. A little bit over the legs, like no biggie. Because we're contemplating on playing Nissa first, but then we're like, yeah, no, we're just gonna play cultivate instead. We're trying to get to Noxious Gearhulk. This is the turn that they kind of just like go a little bit crazy. Because again, they have Hardened Scales, so the 1/1 counters that she got 2 of them instead of just 1. They play another creature, Haywire Might, make her a 6/6. Haywire Might's completely cracked. You can pay 1 green and sacrifice it to the graveyard. And it exiles a artifact or enchantment that's not a creature. I've been playing it a lot in Historic. And then when it leaves the battlefield and goes to the graveyard, not exile, it gains you 3 life. They go ahead and gift all the counters onto Kodama, and now he's Gigalith. They keep like an 8/8 at this point. So, we're already pretty far behind. They're looking, trying to figure out what they're doing. They play sort of Body and Mind, which that gives them protection from green and from blue. Which that kind of gets us pretty hard here as well, because it gives us protection from half our deck, roughly over half, because I think we're a little bit swung just a tad bit more towards green. They swing in, they get their land, and then they mill 20 or 10 cards from our list and create a wolf. With the Sunslayer, could have saved us there, but she's green, so it doesn't really help. We're kind of looking here, contemplating our options. Play Ever After. We got 2 creatures out. Take Gonti, we swipe a Snakeskin, well, we this point, the defensive heart cracks, and they tutor up 2 creatures straight to the battlefield. That's pretty nuts. Very annoying card. It's still relatively fresh, so I'm not too annoyed with it yet, but I'm already getting kind of sick of it, not gonna lie to you. Pretty nuts. They grab World Spine Worm here, the Primeval Titan. World Spine Worm, when gets removed and sent to the graveyard, it puts out 3 5/5 worms with trample. And the Primeval Titan, whenever he enters the battlefield or he attacks, he grabs you 2 lands from your deck. And they can be any type of land. It doesn't have to be like basic lands or nothing like that. So, then they just don't swing. Then we get Invasion of Fiora, which would play it, but it doesn't save us because as previously stated, World Spine Worm gives them 15 power worth of stuff, which we have 15 life. So we go ahead here, as we're just a day late, dollar short on the board, wipe the board, get rid of everybody. Because if we really got rid of our legendaries, it would hurt us more than it hurt them, so the World Spine Worm activates, we concede. And that's all she wrote. Then we're just kind of viewing the battlefield. You'll see a little bit of a close-up of World Spine Worm here. You don't see that card too much. Alright, this is up against Omnixless Captive Kingpin. We win this one. Captive Kingpin's not really that strong. What he does is, if you deal instances of 1 damage, he gets a 1/1 counter, and I think he exiles cards for you to play. I know he does something extra. Pretty sure it's exiles cards. They play this Captivating Scoundrel. She gives you a treasure token. She's like the red cycle card of like, I have 3 effects, pick 1. And she's a 2-drop. The only really good one is the treasure token, because the other 2 are like, they kind of pertain to like the Eldraine set's mechanics. Because one's like create a wicked roll, which gives a creature 1/1, and then when it gets sent away to the graveyard or it gets exiled, if it just gets removed, if the wicked roll gets removed, somehow it deals 1 damage. The Agonizing Remorse here, that's a cherry-picked discard that can exile a card from your opponent's hand or their graveyard. That's just the alternate art of it. I prefer the regular art of it, personally. Take 2 here, Zigo. Play another land. Play Nissa first. She's probably gonna stick around. That's what I like about this Nissa is like, her landfall ability allows her to gain loyalty. She's one of the few landfall cards that I'm like not totally against. But I think landfall is just kind of like fundamentally busted. Because lands are like the cards you want to play pretty much the most. She gets soul transferred here, which means she gets exiled. And soul transfer is like, there's a stipulation on it. I think you can choose both if you meet the stipulation. Go ahead and play Invasion and send a card here, getting us up to 6 lands because it grabs 2 of them. Just grab 2 greens. Because we were ahead on black, we needed greens. So we grabbed them. To play Key to the Archive here, it's a mana rock that you can draft a card from its book and then put it into your hand, and it gets like just a bunch of powerful cards. And then other than that, it taps for 2 mana of any color of any combinations of colors, which is pretty nice. Card strong. Go ahead and play Eliminate here, eliminating that guy with the oil counters on him. Go ahead and play Sarasa, Death's Whisperer. She can lure a creature, forcing it to block. And then if the creature gets sent away to the graveyard, not exiled, you can pay 2 life at the end of the turn and draw an extra card. They go ahead and play Time Warp. That's one of the cards you can grab from Key to the Archive. Extra turn spells are pretty junky, honestly, unless you break the card. That's when they're strong. But if you don't actually like take a card and copy it a bunch of times and abuse use it, that's when they're not that strong. It's just an extra draw step, untap step. Like, they're only really good if you start breaking them. Because I used to play in extra turns list back in the day, and I can tell you from experience, they get mad with extra turn decks. It's only when they start going off that they're good. Otherwise, they're not super exciting. This is what I'm talking about with Casualties of War, where it's a huge blowout because we're 4 for 1 right now. We're taking out their artifact, taking out their creature, taking out a land, and taking out their planeswalker. That's when this card is absolutely nuts. It's a huge blowout when you can pick like more than 3 modes on it and get value out of it. They say go because we take out their 1 red source, they don't even have any red. Play Nissa, animate our land, give it 3/3 haste and menace. They don't have any blockers anyways. We go ahead and smack our battle, win the battle, get our awakened Hedron guy. He's a land, so we get a landfall trigger. We just kind of hold back. He's a big dude, I mean, he's a 4/4 with vigilance, he's pretty good. Or no, yeah, he's got vigilance. And he taps for any 1 color. So he kind of works as an Omni-land too. They play a red here, red source. And they're thinking what they want to do. They're part of what you want to do. They got off to a pretty good start, but they blood Chief's Thirst here. We go for Heroic Intervention, rescuing our Nissa, so it doesn't get sent to the graveyard. And we play a land, Khan's Bastion, you can pay 4 and tap it, but it costs 5 and it proliferates. Excellent in Super Friends decks. And it's a pretty decent card in other counters decks too, like 1/1 counters. It's just usually, it's a bit too expensive for 1/1 counters list, so it's not like mandatory. Is what I'm telling you. But if it's a deck that like wants counters on a bunch of things, and then they just concede here.
There's my channel plugged. Appreciate you clicking all the buttons, doing all the things. Leave a like, share it if you find it interesting. And thank you for your time, and you have a wonderful day. Stay safe out there.